Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Slay the Spire. Today, we're going to be hopping in with a new character today. We're going to be playing the Watcher. Now, I'm going to tell you why, okay? I figured, I was sitting here and I was like, what do I want today's video to be about? I like to theme my videos, right? I like to have something that I talk about, teach you, discuss, and I was like, well, what do I want to do on this channel? Because I could just do like a fun gameplay video, but you know, we're off a break now. I gotta get back to the serious stuff. And then I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll talk about mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and of course behavior, which some of us talked about today. And I'm not necessarily going to do so in such a way where I'm lecturing, but more so just talking about like myself, like my personal experience with things like this. I have some middle school experiences with this that I'll share with you. And hopefully I can kind of inspire you, to help you out if you're ever easily agitated or frustrated. There are a lot of great tricks, peaceful tricks for that. And on the topic of behavior, as you know, we are reading Frankenstein. And because I'm that English teacher, I have to say, like, yeah, we're reading Frankenstein, so what? The whole reason, in my opinion, why we read the books that we do in English class, it's not necessarily for the story itself, but for what the story means, right? The whole thing about Frankenstein is it's a sci-fi book, right? It's a story about a guy who creates like a zombified human, and the human he gains free will, and then, you know, he takes control of his creator, right? And that's the story. And then you have the Frankenstein movies, and you have Frank from Hotel Transylvania, and you have isn't his name Frank in like what is it? It's not Clash Royale. It's Brawl Stars. There's like a Frankenstein in there, right? Now he's a pop culture figure. But the whole thing about the story, though, that people overlook is it's not just a monster story. Let's get started, by the way. It's not just a monster story. We're talking about this deeply emotional human story about abandonment, generational curses, depression. The story itself is essentially a protest to industrialism and experimenting with the wrong technology. You know, I want to delve into that more, but you know, I want to focus more so on like behavior in this video. But to put it simply, right, we're talking about this in class. You just maybe don't know it, right? But if I'm gonna like summarize what this video is gonna be about, and I want to make sure I can focus on this first card here. The summary for this video is this, right? Hurt people, but they don't always have to, right? Victor is talked down by his father and his professors. His mother dies, and he becomes very isolated and depressed, but he also becomes, in such a way, frustrated and almost toxically egotistical, which is a bad combination, clearly. And he chooses in return, because he's hurt, to essentially hurt his creature. He doesn't care for it, he doesn't feel for it. And what do we see? Well, we see the creature's story. Let's continue, sorry. I'm getting too into this already. We see the creature's story, right? And he's inherently good at heart, right? But he's hurt. And there's no one to teach him otherwise. And so he hurts others. And it becomes a brutal cycle of this, right? There's no solving it once it gets started. And that's because nobody in the story is able to intelligently and in an emotional way solve the problem. And we were so close when the creature was talking to Victor. He was like, I just want to talk to you, right? Sorry, I really am getting too into this. Excuse me. Yeah. Let's do that. we were so close, and yet Victor didn't want to hear any of it. This is pretty good, but I feel like I'm gonna take the key because there's other stuff in chests, right? Now, do I take the elite? I could, right? And then I could take the shop. I really want to see what these two are, though. There's a fight in there. Actually, you know what? I still had one of those 1 health things. So, I could have done that, but whatever. I do like this. I like this, actually. Deal 20 damage, but it could be free. So, you know, I'm going to take it. Ooh. Dark Shackles, Deus Ex Machina. Okay, well, I can get Worship. I really would like Deus Ex Machina, but whatever, it's fine. I got Worship. Yeah, we were so close, and it just didn't work out. So, again, like, if you're not interested in the story, at least be interested in what is trying to be said. So that's my preface to the video, but I want to talk about things like, like bullying. Because again, middle school, I think, is really the worst time for that. Ooh, I can do this while he's sleeping. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and get to 10 mantra, because then I'm in divinity. Ooh, I can also retain this a bunch, and then just reduce its cost. Wait. If I get... hold on, let me check. If I get Worship next turn, I think if he doesn't wake up, I can't remember. Okay, he woke up. This costs 2. Wait, I could do it, watch. This is what the miracle's for. Oh, I get energy when I enter divinity. I forgot about that. This does 60 damage. Oh my god. I could also enter calm if I want. So I think I'm going to strike him. Then I'm going to deal 24 damage and enter calm because he's attacking me. Oh, okay, so I remember now. The thing about calm is it doesn't give you any bonus unless you change out of calm, in which case it gives you energy back. I believe that's what it is. Future card rewards have 1 additional card to choose from. That's pretty cool too. Prostrate's pretty good. Retain, enter calm, and exhaust. This one's... there's a... whatever the other one is. What is it? Rage? There's one for that too. So maybe I'll get like 1 of each if I come across the other one. This one's pretty good too. 12 block is nothing to sneeze at, but let's take Tranquility. How fitting, Tranquility. Bonus word of the day. If you are tranquil, you're at peace, right? It's pretty good. These are like the ship pieces, right? If you get a bunch of them, you can have like shield on every turn. Gain 8 block, enter calm. I'm just going to defend this turn so I can start like chipping the price down on this thing. I would like to... they're not attacking me, so I would like to study. I would like to then... I'm going to save my miracle. Holding out for a miracle. Okay, so here's where what we can do. We can Eruption, which will cost 2, but it'll get us out of Calm, which I think it gives us 2 back. So let's try that. Yep. Now I can Sands of Time for 40. And then I can strike you. I'm going to Insight, draw 2 cards. This does 16 damage. Whatever. I get miracles every combat, so it doesn't really matter if I use it there. So I just want to start about like my experience with... I do like this card a lot. I like this card a lot. This is pretty good too, though, but this is fun. This is fun. I love pressure points. This is such a fun card. So when I was in middle school, I struggled a lot, just because I was picked on a lot. You know, there's not a lot of me, a lot about me that has changed. Um, I'm still very much a cornball. Um, but I remember when I was in like first grade, I really struggled with that through elementary school. I didn't exactly want to play that, but it's not like there's anything better for me to do, so. He's dealing 8 damage. I don't have to block this turn. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use this now so that when I enter Divinity, I think I get more energy. Yeah, let's do that. Because then don't I get like, what, 4 energy? I don't know. I don't know how that works exactly. I'm going to Insight, and then if I get really, really lucky with a second Insight. Okay, I didn't. I was trying to get Worship again, but let me be smart about this. Hold on. Enter Wrath. This enters me into Calm. So what I'm going to do is strike. Oh, I win. Forgot I had that. Ooh, Energy Potion is good. Let's... Ooh, these are all pretty good. Energy Potion's great, though, but honestly, we have Miracles. So we can kind of, like, fudge the numbers a little bit. We already have one of these. I don't think we need 2, let's be honest. Gain 3 block. If you're in Wrath, gain 9 additional block, like that. God, I feel like it's always these guys. I would like to upgrade everything right away. Honestly, I'm just gonna use a couple potions here. This is fire. Literally. At the start of each turn, add a smite into your hand. Could be good during Divinity, but I don't really have a lot of mantra stuff right now. During Calm, gain 5 block. It's a little bit of a tricky choice. So, I've shared this story on the channel, I believe, but I'll share it again. When I was in art class in first grade, we were making Russian nesting dolls. And I didn't know how Russian nesting dolls worked, so we had like these little 2D, they were basically coloring pages, right? And they had like the outline of a Russian nesting doll on it. But I put arms on them because I didn't know that they were supposed to be like, put inside each other. So I gave mine arms. And my art teacher held it up in front of the class and told me that it was an example of the perfect mistake. I'm serious when I say that. That's not like a, paraphrase. That's what she said. That it was the example of a perfect mistake. And that really affected me as a kid. And I think that, I didn't really understand how to take it. I was frustrated. Speaking of frustrated, I don't really have the best cards here. And it really impacted me. I think I became really self-conscious as a result of it. And where's my... can I get my worship? Can I get my worship? Can I... No. He can't get his worship. I'm just gonna take this guy out. I can't stand the sight of him. Dude, okay, actually, you know what? Using all of my insights there are good because I can exhaust all of these dazed now. Still taking a little bit of damage. That's not good. And there were some times when I got to middle school and, I didn't really know how to control my emotions because all of my peers had been treating me in such a way where, that's what I got accustomed to. And so by the time I got to middle school, I remember Um, someone had been picking on me for a while. And it was because of my religion. Now, I'm not as, like, religious now, I suppose, as I was then. That's just me. That was a bit scary, by the way. I was like, what do I do? I'll soak that damage. Oh, I forgot about that. Nice. And so I had been getting picked on constantly because of it. And he's on the same bus as me too, right? So I'm like hearing it constantly. And, one day we get in a heated argument and he punches me in the face. In the face. And there were no teachers around. This was like right before homeroom started. We just got off the bus. We were waiting in like, it was like the main hallway right before the bell rings and we all go to our homerooms. And he punches me in the face. I had never been punched in the face before. Or punched. And it was like, oh my god, what? Like, how could that happen? And so eventually we get to this point. This is pretty nice too. Although Rushdown is quite nice as well. It got to this point where we were on the bus and he like came over and sat down next to me, right? And he started saying something offensive. And I got fed up and I put him in a headlock. Oh! I'm being honest, that's what I did. That was not right of me. But again, I was young and I didn't know any better. And as I grew older, I'm fortunate enough to, have mentors and parents that, taught me and raised me right. Because I realized very soon that there are far better ways of dealing with issues than things like that, like violence. And we see that happen a lot in middle school too. I mean, it happens all the time. And, ever since that day in middle school when that happened, I've never been in any sort of physical altercation like that. That's not who I am. And I'm very glad that, I am the way that I am today. I think this is good. What is this? Oh, this reduces the cost of that as well. I feel like that's pretty valuable. Although I only have one way to get into Wrath, and it's this, and this also reduces the cost. So I might start with that, since I feel like that's more important. But yeah, I mean, like, again, that was a result of my ignorance and naivety. Because I had felt like that was the right thing to do. Which, again, was not. And it was kind of like my Frederick Douglass Covey moment where I was like fed up and I had enough of it. Jeez, look at this damage, by the way. Can I just do 40 damage and like survive? That's really risky, actually. I don't think that's smart at all. Hold on, let me focus here. I have 3, technically 4 energy. This doesn't get more damage. Strikes get more damage, though. This is 8 damage. After receiving 6 damage. Okay, so pressure points will do it. That's clutch, by the way. Eventually, I continued to grow and learn. And I was able to communicate better my feelings. And I would say I got pretty good at that. I'm pretty open with those that are close to me about how I'm feeling. And I think that's important, but it's also a skill too that you have to learn, right? Like not everyone is built like that right out the gate. Like it's okay to be reserved a little bit, right? But it's also okay to ask for help, and that's very important too. Let's draw some more cards here. Put a mark on them. The interesting thing about mark, by the way, is it stacks. So every time I use that, it's doing a bunch more damage than you think. And it doesn't activate thorns. A little bit of damage here. I'm going to hit him with this vulnerable potion, so I do more damage to him. Then I'm going to hit him with the eruption. Then the sands of time. And look at this energy I have. I can keep going. So, give me an insight. Give me a strike and a strike. Give me another insight. Pressure points. 24 damage. This is all while he doesn't have thorns. He's still buffing himself. He doesn't have thorns yet. Then, because I'm in Wrath, I'm going to use a miracle. Fear no evil. For 24 damage, and I will end my turn. Crazy. I might be able to get him soon. Look at this, 40 damage, not a problem. Wow. That's crazy. Expungers are pretty crazy, by the way. 9 damage X times. I could do like 36 damage. With 4 mana. Spirit Shield, gain 3 block for each card in your hand. There's Deus Ex Machina. I was talking about that. Fun fact, Deus Ex Machina is also a literature term. Basically meaning it's Latin, I believe. God in the machine, right? It's basically plot armor, right? Where something impossible to survive is happening and somehow the main character survives. Anyway, sorry. Yes. Proceed. Ooh, yeah. This is insane. This is pretty good, but again, we can get energy, right? I like this. 3 miracles every game. Yeah. So the other story, what's the other story? Oh yeah. I'm gonna tell this one because something very similar just recently happened. Also, I have all the key pieces, so that's awesome. Let's hit the shop. Fight. Rest, rest. Campfire, campfire. Ooh, double elite if we're feeling confident. Otherwise, we hit the other campfire. I like that. Let's do this. Something very similar happened, so I'll talk about that now. I was at lunch in middle school, and there was this one kid named Derek, and he was kind of like Buford from Phineas and Ferb, you know? He was kind of like the frenemy of the group, right? He was like kind of a bully, but like he was still kind of a friend, you know what I mean? And one day, he decided to throw a milk carton at me because he thought it was funny. And so I, being frustrated with him, like, tossed it back at him. I was like, this isn't mine, take it back. And a teacher came over and saw me throw it back at him, and I got lunch detention. And I remember taking a picture. I still have it on my phone. And I think I made the picture on Snapchat or something, and it's just a picture of, like, this wooden desk. It looks like an office desk. One of those, like, red cafeteria trays, and, like, the most bland, like, you know, like, cafeteria food you could imagine. And then there's, like, a little caption that says, "Thanks for lunch detention, Derek." And that's just, like, I have that in, like, my favorites camera roll because I find it so funny. But yeah, you know, again, another example of, like, should I have thrown it at him? Probably not. I could have handed it back to him or talked to him about it, but I decided to throw it at him. And I got lunch detention. And maybe I wasn't fully in the wrong for that. Oh my god. Maybe I wasn't fully in the wrong for that. But again, there were better ways to solve the problem. And so I learned from that as well. 6 damage. Pressure points, that's what I needed. Weak potion. More pressure points. This is good. It's free and it's 5 damage to everybody. If I fight goblins or gremlins or whatever, I'm going to be really upset. I'm going to take it. Alright, let me focus for the shop here, and then we'll continue. That's really good. This is also really good, but I don't have all that much gold. 5 damage 5 times. Gain 6 block for free, that's a good card. Shuffle 3 random skills, they cost 0. I think we remove a card. This is insane too, though. What would I double, though, if I got that? Hold on, that lets me double a card. Pressure points, maybe? We only really need one of these. Maybe pressure points. I really want to get like a crazy pressure points thing going on. So maybe we take this, double pressure points, then we take this. This is the one that I was really kind of wanting more, to be honest with you. Wish I had enough for this, but that's unfortunate. Whatever. Oh boy, I'm so glad I bought that card. Or I chose that card, whatever. So here's the thing about pressure points. I can use pressure points on each of these, and every time I play pressure points, it hits every creature with pressure points on it. So I'll start with that, and 2 defends to fully block the damage. Next turn, I get 14 block. There we go. Then I'm going to rush down, Fear No Evil this guy. Strike this guy. And I'm taking what? Yeah, this will solve that problem. Boom. So I think the most important thing, especially with English class and everything, is to really learn from those morals of the story, right? Like, whenever you hear moral of the story, you always think of like fairy tales and stuff, like the rabbit and the tortoise, or the tortoise and the hare, or whatever. But like a moral of a story, like every story has a moral to it, surely. I mean, most. And don't call me Shirley, by the way. Stop that. Can I survive this? I don't think I can, but whatever. The moral of a lot of these stories that we're reading is be sympathetic and empathetic towards one another, right? Like, there's always going to be a straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Doesn't matter if you're the toughest dude in town, right? Everybody breaks. That's just the truth. This is awesome, by the way. Oh yeah, Mark also ignores flying, so that's kind of cool. And then I think I'm just gonna... Okay. Maybe not the smartest decision. Let's end it. There we go. Most of the morals of the story, like I said, are about sympathy and empathy. Frederick Douglass, right? Abused, but he used his experience and turned it into something positive to benefit the abolitionist movement and the civil rights movement, right? But again, born into slavery, suffered through that for 20-something years until he escaped, right? No one was sympathetic for him. There's follow-up again. Let's take that. No. Upgrade a card, let's go. Pressure points, maybe? Deus Ex Machina, Worship. what was that other card? Study. I was gonna do that too. It is only a one-time use though, so like I feel like this could be good since it'll technically be free most of the time. But pressure points, 11 mark. I have to do it. I have to do it. And then I should probably heal, but I get like max health almost because of my cushion here. So what was I gonna do here and then here? Yeah. If I don't take much damage here, I could probably upgrade another card. Let's enter Calm. Consecrate. Defend. Defend. It's perfect. I could use every single card. And then here's where we start the pressure points. Boom. 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 And enter. Frankenstein. We already talked about this, but again, it's about the monster and his suffering. Now, obviously, his solution to the issue is a little bit different than, say, Frederick Douglass. But imagine how different it could have been if there was some sympathy or some empathy, right? The monster wouldn't have had to resort to all of this violence. And it's the unfortunate truth, and I don't think it's controversial for me to say that we still suffer from this today, right? People suffer all over the world. And this is just a fact of life, really. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And imagine how different the world could be if we didn't judge each other for, you know, our appearance, our religion, our ethnicity, sexual orientation. But unfortunately, that's a thing that's rooted in our world, and it's very hard to fix. But there's a saying that goes a little something like, the kids are our future, right? The youth is the future. And we say that because you literally are, right? If we cannot teach those that we care about and those that will inherit the world when we're gone how to love one another, then, you know, the world will become a very dangerous and hateful place. And so it's very, very important, especially for me with a platform like this, to say, like, you should always resort first to using your words, right? You might really feel like you just want to sucker punch somebody because they said something about your mom. But you just gotta take a breath for a second, right? And you gotta think and be like, is this who I want to be? Do I want to be the guy that punches this dude in the face? And you might think about it and be like, I really, really, really want to. He's making me really mad. But sometimes all you gotta do is talk about it. And it doesn't always work if you talk about it. This is gonna lead me into my next story. But it's, again, like, you are the one in control always. It may not feel like it, but people will try to egg you on, and they will try to irritate you on purpose. That's just what some people like to do. But it's up to you how you respond, right? Let's take this. So that's why talking, using your words, being smart about using your words too, is very important. I'm just gonna heal up because I want to take those 2 elites on. This is great too. Ooh, I hate this guy though. Really, really hate that guy. Although he could work out for me, but let me just do this now so I'm in calm. He randomizes the costs of all of my cards. Like this. This is really bad. This is still free though. Yikes. I feel like it has to happen though, because this is free anyway. Yeah. So in college, there's this friend group that I was a part of. And the unfortunate thing about it was that there was this one friend that was a part of our friend group, joined the friend group, whatever. But they were really just kind of like a Victor Frankenstein, you feel me? Like very self-centered, very antagonistic, right? Like would gain pleasure in like, you know, messing with you. And always, of course, thought that he was right. This is bad, by the way. I don't have any means of blocking except for my new trinket that I got, but that's not going to do enough, quite frankly. Insight, that's a 3 energy strike. There we go. Gain 6 blocks, shuffle, and insight. I don't really need any of these. I'm going to skip, to be honest with you. And eventually, it was just so annoying. Because, like, none of us were pleased with it. And I had conversations with him, and I'm like, you know, I don't appreciate the way that you talk and the way the jokes that you make. And sure, there are people out there that are going to be like, oh, you're so sensitive. But again, right, like, jokes are jokes, but if they come at the expense of someone else, or if they come with like a harmful stereotype or something like that, it only perpetuates the aggression towards one another. Does that make sense? I don't know, you guys. I might die here, straight up. I didn't realize that was going to be possible this early, but I think I'm straight up dead. I don't have anything. 20 damage. I mean, I'm gone. I'm a goner. Am I? Oh my god, I'm not. I forgot about the block. I have to survive this now. God. I don't have enough card draw. I think that's the issue. Man, that could have been so clutch, you guys. Oh well. I'm slain. So be it. And eventually I had to stand up for what I believe in, and I removed myself from the situation. Let's go for, I don't know if we have time for one more. Sure we do. Let's choose a rare card to obtain. Oh my god, this is insane. This is pretty crazy too. This is pretty crazy too. It only cost 1 also, but this, I basically have infinite energy, so hear me out, okay? We're gonna take this and as many like card draw cards as we can. Looks like we're gonna have to take one of these paths, so let's take this one. So I want to talk about like what mindfulness means, because you heard me say it earlier in the video, and different like tricks on how to actually use your words, right? Because I've been talking about it, right? But like, how does that actually work if you're really, really upset? I think the thing that I think about a lot is this. That was clutch. There's this book that I've read called Meditations. You may have heard of it. It's by Marcus Aurelius. I believe he was a Roman emperor, by the way. I want card draw. Deal 4 damage. Draw 1 card. Draw 2 cards. But enter Wrath. This deals damage, scries 2, and draws cards. So I like that more, I think, for utility's sake. Scrying lets me check out what kind of cards are coming up, by the way. So mindfulness, right? Again, mindfulness isn't like a religion. It's not a spirituality. It's a mindset. Oh my god. Draw that card. And all it really means is just being aware of yourself, your feelings, your surroundings too, but also remembering that you're in control of those things, your inner things like emotions and so forth. And I think, sorry, I'm locked in. The most important thing is that introspection, right? Being able to look inwards and say, like, what am I feeling right now? Can I change it, right? Most likely you can. Even if it may seem impossible. There's some more card draw for us. Gonna play this right away. Taking a little bit of damage, maybe not the smartest thing, but Deva form, okay? There we go. So for me, right, like nowadays, I think I've become so comfortable talking about the way that I feel and the way that things affect me that, you know, it's very easy for me to approach a situation with a level-headed mind because things become a lot, you know, reckless, a lot more reckless when you come at it aggressively, right? So if you can kind of just take a breath and say in your head, right, like, what can I say to either defend myself or not hurt the other person, but say, make the other person question their logic, right? Like, why would you say something like that, right? You know, that's not, like, why do you think that's funny, right? As a matter of fact, I had that happen in class today, I think. I had a student call someone else out because of a joke that they made. And I know that that might sound silly or whatever as a middle schooler, right? Like, oh, you know, I'm just kidding. I get it, believe me. But it's also important to reinforce an understanding of kindness and sympathy for the reasons aforementioned. This is nice too. Here's some more card draw though. I could be getting stuff like this, but I don't want to like bloat the deck with unnecessary cards, right? So anyway, again, taking the time to be patient is the most important thing. Because again, you've heard me say it before and I'll say it again. Words are as close to magic. Okay. Are as close to magic as we can get as human beings. Because there's a lot that you can do with words, right? There's a lot that you can do with words. Shout out Deva form, by the way. Oh, I'm out of energy, by the way. Psych. No, I'm not. Okay. Sure, why not? Just throw all of the shield on there. Throw it all on there. But yeah, so I take my time and I think about it, right? If I'm going to solve a problem, shouting at somebody, and I think my students could tell you that this is the truth. I don't like to shout. I'm a bit of a sarcastic guy, okay? So sorry about that. But I never like to shout at anybody, and I think, you know, everybody's got their own teaching style. But I don't know, I feel like coming at things from an aggressive angle is a very good way of losing respect. Because again, some of these situations that people get yelled at for are simple things. And maybe it's having your phone out, you know, I mean, you guys do it all the time, right? But again, right, like, let's say you pulled your phone out for like the 5th time today, which you shouldn't, because it should be taken from you by that point. But again, like, just because this is a frequent thing doesn't mean shouting more will fix that problem. That's also applicable to you as well, right? So the way that I deal with situations is I always start by talking. I'm never raising my voice unless like it's loud and people can't hear me and I need attention to say something. I shouldn't have done that, but whatever. I always start by talking, because if you come at a situation with a level head and a willingness to talk, it then makes it very hard for the other person to raise their voice and start making a scene on their end. Because the way that conversations typically work is if you're not matching their level, eventually they're gonna get tired of shouting when, you know, you're not putting up with it. And let's say that they are. Let's say that you're talking to them and they're like, no, this. And you're like, well, can we stop shouting? Like, I'm trying to talk to you, right? And sometimes you gotta repeat that a bunch, right? But again, it's the repetition and the patience that you need to solve a problem in that sort of way. It may not always work, but the reason why I'm not in these situations as often is because of the way that I handle my situations and myself, and it doesn't get to that point because typically the way that I interact with people, even strangers, is in a friendly way. Obviously, stranger danger, okay? But I hold the door for people. I compliment people's clothing, right? Just like, you know, like tiny little acts of kindness and stuff like that. And I never really get myself in arguments because of that, right? I never have a reason to be in an argument, and I think that's like the secret trick to this whole thing. But if you are in an argument, right, again, we go back to mindfulness and the tricks, the deep breathing that some people very much need. I had this last time, it was pretty good. I don't really have divinity though, that's what kind of made this pop off. So maybe... Here's Vajra again. That could be crazy. Since Wrath gives me more damage. You look dangerous, hee hee. Thanks. Oh my god, it's these guys again. Deva form now though, we're just gonna soak that damage. Because I need the, like, as much energy, and does it give me card draw too? No, it's just energy, but still, right? Yeah. And let's just drink this for the sake of it. So I would advise, here's your homework, right? You may not be able to do it tonight, though. Don't try to do it tonight, unless you have to. But next time you find yourself in like a disagreement with somebody, or a confrontation with somebody, maybe you're not doing anything wrong, but they're picking on you, for example, right? I'm just gonna do this and pass my turn, I think. I want you to try, as your homework, if you're prone to shouting back or giving a snarky remark back, right? Try instead this time to come at it from a different angle, right? How can you say something that can change what the other person is thinking about, okay? This is why you're subscribed to Mr. Clasher. Smash like. And I know it all sounds cliche, like, we're not going to be holding hands singing Kumbaya, right? Like, that's... I might sound pessimistic saying that, but, you know, it's impossible for everybody to get along. It's just the way that the world is. But to be able to regulate yourself and to not fall into that trap, that is the best skill anybody could have. So that is your homework. This is all, again, in lieu of the behavior talk today. This is really quite annoying. I could have used Eruption too, and probably took him out. But I didn't. I didn't. Give me some block, and then smack this guy around a little bit. He's gone. He's gone. I forgot I had thorns. Oh god. This is disgusting. Get that out of my sight. Okay. Another thing too, let's talk about this. This is important. Respecting, just in general, let's say, respecting your environment, right? So if you want to talk about education, let's talk about school, right? School bathrooms, okay? We had to shut them down last year and keep people from going to them. This is awesome. That artifact. And this. We had to shut the bathrooms down because there were fights happening in there. People were destroying, they were destroying the bathrooms because it's funny, right? Like, I don't care if you never use the school bathrooms. I don't care. Don't destroy it for the people that do, okay? Like, maybe it feels good inside to just destroy something. Hey, they have, like, rage rooms for that, where you can pay money to destroy whatever you want, right? I know that we all want to crush something sometimes, right? You know, sometimes we feel that way. Don't destroy the place that you share with your peers and friends. Don't destroy that. You know, it's disappointing to me as a teacher, to see that happen, because again, like, you need to understand that you might have the privilege or the, what's the other word I'm looking for? The wherewithal to care about it, because, again, say you don't use the school bathrooms, you don't have to care about it, right? That's the issue. That's what frustrates me, is, like, again, the lack of sympathy. I know I'm talking about a school bathroom. Okay. I know I'm talking about a school bathroom, but the example here is, again, applicable to any other situation, right? Don't vandalize something like a bathroom, for example, with hateful comments and things of that nature. Like, real friends don't support that kind of behavior, because that kind of behavior is what destroys a man. And going back to the topic of man, right? And woman, okay? Women are included here on this channel, and everybody in between, okay? There is this, I think, there's this quote from Marcus Aurelius, that's what I was talking about, where he says, enough talk about what makes a good man, be one, right? And I wrote an essay about this because I think this is an important phrasing. If there was a live audience here right now, I would ask for a show of hands for how many of you have heard someone tell you, be a man, right? That's what would you call that? Not a misnomer, but it's a misappropriation, big word, of that quote specifically, right? Because he's telling the reader to be a man, but so too are these individuals that are, like, saying so in a taunting way. This is very dangerous, by the way. He's dealing 26 damage to me. I don't know if I'm making it out of this, you guys. This might be the last... This might be the last go here. Yeah. The video had to end anyway. Didn't make it very far today. But again, he's not saying be a man. And again, that's like what the toxic version of that has become, right? Because it's inherently, aggressive, like, thug it out, right? That's what people say sometimes. But again, especially for men's mental health, right? Because you're always told, right, like, thug it out, that's just fancier way or a slang way of saying bottle up your feelings. Don't do that. That's not smart. Okay, that's what leads to violence, as we've seen in the different texts that we've read, right? Don't do that. Okay? Talk about it. Take a deep breath. Be a good man or woman or anyone in between. Be a good man or woman or anyone in between. And what does that mean? Well, it means talk, think, feel, act accordingly, right? You'd be amazed by the lack of problems you'd find yourself in. I'm very fortunate to be able to have such great communication skills, but you have to learn that, and I had to learn that too, as you've heard. I got myself into trouble sometimes. I think we all do. But you have to be able to, number one, forgive yourself.